guys, so I am very excited to film today's video because it is launching the creation of a new tag, and I am also super excited because it is a collab with one of my favorite people here on YouTube, Mandy Lea. I found Mandy Lea's channel, gosh, I think pretty early on when she started. I'm still not entirely sure how YouTube recommended Mandy's channel to me way back in the day, but I am forever grateful because I immediately subscribed and I just so thoroughly enjoy watching her videos. I think she is incredibly relatable. One of my favorite series she does is where she takes a single eyeshadow palette and does 5 or 7 looks with it. And I find what she has this magical ability to do is translate color in a very wearable way. I think she's somebody who takes palettes that for a lot of us would just feel too intense or too colorful, and she finds very approachable ways to leverage those palettes, and I am always incredibly impressed with the eyeshadow looks that she puts together. So if you've been looking for ways to leverage either new or existing palettes in your collection, I would absolutely encourage you to check out her channel. I think you would find a lot of inspiration for the content that she puts out. So I thought of this tag at like 3 in the morning as I was in the basement with my dog. Our golden doodle is like terrified of storms, and so my husband and I have this like trade-off system of, it's like if it's turning into one of those big thunderstorms, he's terrified and wants to go hide in the basement, but he wants one of us with him. It's like he's too terrified to be on his own in the basement because he can still hear the thunder. So being the ridiculous pet parents that we are, that is what we do. We trade off as far as who goes and sits in an armchair in the basement with the dog during a storm. All right, had to take a quick pause because we had barky dogs and then a phone call came in. So anyway, all that to say, I was sitting in my basement at like 3 in the morning while this big huge thunderstorm rolled in a few weeks ago, and I think it was fairly recently after I'd seen the eyeshadow palette tag that Samantha March had done, and I was just thinking to myself like how much I loved tag videos. And then I was also kind of going through my wish list randomly on my, I think Ulta app or something. I don't know. I was awake and just scrolling and looking at things on my phone. So then I came up with this idea for a wish list tag. And I first thought, I'm like, well, there's only kind of a couple of prompts that I could put together for this tag. And then I very quickly came up with a bunch of them. And I think at 3 in the morning, I was like, I want to do this, but I want to do this with someone. I'm going to message Mandy because she and I have chatted over Instagram on over just different YouTube type things. And so I thought, you know what? I've never done a collab with her. This could be a lot of fun. So I sent her my thoughts and the few tags that I came up with and threw it over to her, and she loved the idea and came up with some of her tags. And so we've kind of merged this list together into 10 prompts about our wish lists. So I hope you guys enjoy this tag idea, and I'm definitely tagging all of the creators that I follow and I'm friends with here on YouTube to try this tag as well, because I'm also very curious how other people would answer this tag. So if you have a channel or you have an Instagram account where you're talking about beauty products, I would definitely encourage you to give this a whirl. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And then I will of course link Mandy's video down below because I am incredibly interested to see how she is going to answer all of these as well. So for reference, I'm kind of leveraging 3 places when I'm thinking about wish lists. I have obviously one going on Ulta and Sephora, as I think many of us do. And then I also keep sort of a running wish list of items inside of my beauty budget tracker. So I kind of have a little notes section off to the side where I'm like jotting in things that have kind of caught my eye and do I want to spend my money on it. It's often what I talk about in my needs, notes, and wants video. And for as much as I put together a lot of these prompts, I actually haven't answered these questions in my own head yet. So we're going to be doing this as ad hoc as possible. So tag number 1 is, what is the oldest product on your wish list? And I kind of have to look between Sephora and Ulta here to kind of get a sense for what that might be. So I'm fairly certain my oldest wish list item is actually at Sephora. So this is the Beauty Blender Opal Essence Serum Primer. I I saw this in store, and I know it's been at least a year ago, if not longer. And it's interesting, it actually has a really solid review. It's like 4.5 out of 5 with 628 reviews. So that's interesting. But this is the Opal Essence Serum Primer. And I've never bought any makeup products from Beauty Blender. I used to buy beauty blenders until I found much more affordable options out there. But I remember squeezing this serum on the back of my hand and it being very lightweight and giving this really pretty opalescent glow in a way that wasn't like, oh, you've got blue and green on your face, because I think sometimes you say opal and you think almost like holographic, like at least I do, because I think a lot of opals have like bluish and greenish and pinkish and orangish shifts depending on how you hold it up to the light. This one was multi-dimensional, but it wasn't super colorful, and I felt like it just looked like glass skin on the back of my hand. I found this when I was going into a Sephora VIB Rouge party. The Sephora by me, at least at Easton, which is one of our main shopping areas here in Columbus, it has like, it's an outdoor mall. It's really beautiful. It's a great place to shop. I love Easton. But they do, that Sephora there would do these like reward or VIB party kind of things where it was like typically on a Sunday, like 2 hours before the store opened, you could sign up ahead of time, and then they would have new releases that were coming out for the season that weren't actually out on the website or in stores yet, and they would have a collection of those products out for sale, and then they would have like some breakfast stuff or some coffee and things like that as well. And it was kind of a very low-key way to go in and shop in a very kind of quiet environment and see some new products and swatch. And I remember this Beauty Blender one being one of those products that kind of caught my eye, but I had other things on my list that I was more interested in purchasing, and I kind of get to a mental place in my head where it's like, I don't want to spend more than blah in a certain trip. And so even though I probably could have tossed this in my basket, I kind of had already mentally reached that point of like, I don't want to spend any more money. I'm just going to get the things I came in here to get. And so I put this one on my wish list on my phone, and it's just kind of sat there ever since. But it's funny, just now talking about it has me intrigued all over again. I was kind of wondering when I answered this question if I would find that oldest item and be like, not interested, delete. But now having talked about it, I'm kind of interested in trying it again, and now also seeing that it's got very nice reviews out there. All right, well. All right, tag number 2 is the reverse of that. So what is the newest product on your wish list? I'm trying to see if I added anything super recently at Ulta versus Sephora. Okay, I do think the newest item is at Sephora. So there's a brand at Sephora called Incredible. So inc.redible. It's a little bit more affordable of a makeup line, I guess is the best way to say it. And from everything I've researched, I believe they are a cruelty-free brand. But they recently launched something called their 3 Love Lip, Cheek, and Eye Tint Sticks. They're only $12. So products under like $15 at Sephora always catch my eye because their products are almost always more expensive. So I've been interested in this incredible brand a little bit, but I've never bought anything from them. And then I've been thinking about doing a cream blush roundup video. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, it's new. It doesn't have a ton of reviews yet, and it's more affordable at Sephora. So I am very interested in this guy. I may end up picking this up this next month because I just don't hear anybody talk about them, and I'm kind of curious if it's awesome or not. I think the colors look really pretty as well. So yeah, that is, I think, a fairly likely purchase for me in the next month. All right, tag number 3, a wish list item you keep forgetting about. So something on your wish list that has been on for a period of time, or you keep going, oh yeah, I want to get that, and then something happens and you don't. For me, I guess this is one that's both at Ulta and Sephora, but I have it on my Ulta list. I feel like, to me, that is the Urban Decay All-Nighter Face Primer. This retails for $36, and maybe that's partly why I haven't pulled the trigger on it. It's just because it's a little bit more of a pricier primer. And it was one of those ones that I wasn't really that interested in, and then I heard a couple people talk about, and I thought it sounded kind of unique. They said it's a smoothing and hydrating face primer that grips foundation into place and boosts its staying power so it lasts all day. Goes on sheer, silky soft to the touch, actually leaves skin feeling hydrated upon application, and then grips your makeup in place so that it lasts longer. But in general, I found that the all-nighter type line, along with some of the Urban Decay foundations, the ones at least that I've liked, have really good staying power. And so I was interested in the Milk Makeup sort of gripping primer, but I put that on in store and it just felt so sticky and so heavy that I kind of walked away from it. And I got the idea of a more sticky surface sort of giving you a grip and sort of like holding on to your makeup, but I just didn't feel like I could handle that like stickiness factor or that heaviness factor that I felt like I experienced when I was putting that Milk one, at least on the back of my hand. And so this one felt like a compromise between something that was going to be hydrating and smoothing, plus also a little bit of that gripping action. People were saying that it wasn't quite as grippy or sticky as the Milk Makeup one. At least on Ulta, it's got really great reviews. It's like 4.5 out of 5 with 443 reviews. 93% of respondents said they'd recommend it to a friend. So that's a kind of a glowing review. A lot of face products are very split and end up kind of in that like high 3, low 4s. It's kind of where I see most foundations and primers kind of live. So yeah, I'm still curious about this one. Okay, so the next prompt was a wish list item you're glad you removed from your wish list. So something that sat on my wish list for a while and I really thought about, and then I ended up removing, and now I'm glad I did. For me, the thing that comes first to mind is the Anastasia Riviera palette. I was so attracted to the navy and white stripes, and then I saw that one in store and there were some shades in there that had a ton of dimension. Some of the blue shades had really interesting dimension from different micro glitters. Like there were some shades in there that I felt like were really, really unique and interesting from a eyeshadow perspective. But the more I thought about it and the more I thought about that color story, the more I realized that this was going to be one of those colorful palettes that I would probably force myself to use when I first got it, and then it would sit in my collection and kind of languish. And I feel like it was just bright enough that I wouldn't really truly love it on a regular basis. And I feel like since kind of coming to that conclusion and removing it off of the list, a lot of the people that I follow that are like me and prefer a little bit more of a neutral eye look, or ones that are like slightly colorful but not like insanely bright, who play with color in muted ways, I guess is how I look at myself. I've watched a lot of people with similar sort of tastes to me come to that realization and either declutter that palette, put it on a list of makeup they regret buying. And looking at it now, I'm still like, yeah, you wouldn't use the majority of the shades in here on a regular basis. You just wouldn't. All right, so next tag is a product on your wish list you'll probably never buy. So something that you've added to your wish list that you know deep down you probably won't pull the trigger on. For me, and this is not a makeup item, it's a hair item. It's a curling iron actually at Ulta. And I look at it and I always think like, I bet that could do really cool things with my hair. But I also know deep down, like I would buy that and I would try it once or twice and it would take longer to do my hair, and then it would just go into the bottom of my drawer in my bathroom and I would never touch it again. But I still can't bring myself to get rid of it for some odd reason on my wish list. And in theory, I've seen some people use a curling iron like this and just kind of like hold out their hair and just like run it down, and you end up with this really cool wave effect that I think would be very hard to do with a regular curling iron. And I really liked the effect, but I haven't heat styled my hair in like months. I found the energy to do makeup through this whole pandemic. I have not found the energy to like heat style my hair on a regular basis. And by a regular basis, I mean at all. So next prompt is wish list item you will probably buy next. This one I've actually saved on Sephora and Beautylish. I'm trying to decide where I'm going to buy from. I think I might buy from Beautylish. I don't know. I like them as a brand. Nothing against Sephora, but like I don't know, I like Beautylish as a brand, and I think I have a more affinity to them even now, knowing how, after watching Wayne Goss's sort of launch video and talking about how after he had been kind of ripped off by some of the advisors in his life and a whole bunch of his money had been lost and he was kind of at his low point, that Niels, who is the owner, the founder of Beautylish, like bought a plane ticket and flew to London and was there within a few days to like be there for him and help him out and share what he knew about business, because Wayne was like, I'm not a business guy, I'm a makeup artist, I know and love makeup, I want to develop amazing products. So to hear that this guy had dropped everything he was doing to go over there and just help out his friend and help him kind of recover, I don't know, like that story really hit me. And I have always loved Beautylish, but like I feel this like even deeper kinship with the brand, and so it's making me want to think about prioritizing my product purchases there versus, you know, if it's at Sephora and Beautylish, like probably buy it from Beautylish is kind of what I'm thinking at this point. The item that's on my wish list that I will probably buy next is the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. All my favorite channels are talking about how wonderful they are. I am so torn on whether or not light is going to be too light on me. I keep seeing everyone, and I haven't seen anyone as fair as me use the light bronzer yet. I've watched Michelle Wong and I've watched Mel Thompson compare and contrast the light and the medium bronzers, and I know they're deeper than me. I know they're more like NC25, NC30, and I'm more like NC12 or 15 in MAC shades, but the light just like barely showed up on any of them. Like it didn't work on Mel at all, and Michelle was generous in saying she felt like she saw a little bit of deepening from it, and so I am now nervous that their fair shade of the bronzer on me is still going to be too fair. I feel like part of me is like, I need to pull the trigger on the light version so that I can answer that question, not only for myself, but for you guys who may be wondering the same thing, because that light bronzer in those videos really looks like a setting powder to me. Like I'm worried that it wouldn't show up a ton, and then I saw swatches of the medium. Michelle Wong did swatches of the medium next to all of the Charlotte Tilbury bronzers that she had, including the Philip Star Bronze and Glow, which I love, and the Philip Star Bronze and Glow was the closest to the medium shade. So I don't feel like in good conscience I want to order two of them. That's A, they're very pricey, and B, I don't know, maybe I just need to pull two, maybe I need to order two for my channel so that I can kind of walk you guys through it from my perspective. But I know that will probably be my next purchase. I just need to figure out which shade I'm gonna go with, and I still haven't made up my mind. Even here talking it through, I still don't know which way I'm gonna go. So the next tag is a wish list item you've added from watching a YouTube video. For me, there's obviously, I think, quite a few products on, I'm looking at my wish list, there's probably quite a few items that I could point to in terms of, oh, I heard somebody talk about this and I'm definitely interested in them. But I think the one that kind of comes to mind is one where I feel like I had made up a decision to not buy it. I'd swatched it in store and I just felt like I didn't get it. And then I've watched somebody I really enjoy and trust talk about it, and now I am wondering if the application, when actually using it, it could dramatically change how I would feel about it. And so for me, that is the Patrick Ta Monochrome Moment Velvet Blushes. I saw these in store myself and I swatched them on the back of my hand, and I thought they felt nice, and they were a lot more sheer than I expected them to. Like even some of the darker colors were a lot more sheer on my hand, but I just felt like, all right, it's a blush, like it's fine. It's a matte blush. It has maybe not a dry matte texture, but it's definitely a matte blush. I've been going more for shimmer blushes. Maybe this really isn't the one for me. And I then have seen several people that I like and trust talk about these blushes, but then I watch Khaki Reviews Beauty actually apply these and talk about how incredibly smoothing they are on the cheek. And I definitely felt that smoothness in store. And so now I kind of have in my head that this might be a blush that is A, buildable, so I don't have to worry about like too intense and then I'm frantically buffing it out. Like I feel like it's going to be a buildable blush, but then also that sort of silky feel that I did feel it in store. I know what she's talking about. If that really is almost like a blurring powder as you put on a blush, like that could be really nice. The thing that continues to hang me up is, quite frankly, a $32 price point, because that's really high for a blush. And I don't have, like, I follow Patrick Ta, but I don't have this like deep affinity to him as a makeup artist. But I also feel like my affinity has been more towards the creams and liquids lately, which has had me like prioritizing my dollars in a different way, away from powder blushes and more towards the creams. But I still am very interested in this, and in particular, I think the one I'm most interested in is actually the darkest one, which is that like mauve plum, because I feel like it could be built up to be this really pretty bronzery blush. Like, I'm gonna put that on and no bronzer, and it might just be like the perfect color on me. So yes, that is definitely one that is sincerely only on my list because I've seen people talk about how nice they are. So the next tag is most affordable item on your wish list. So let's see, that's definitely going to be Ulta. I think the most affordable thing on my wish list is actually a nail polish, and it's from Orly, which I learned was a cruelty-free brand, which is very cool. And it's this color called Blazing Sunset, and they call it a neon pink, but it almost looks like a neon red. And last summer I was really thinking about trying to find the perfect neon red nail polish for my toes. Like, I just felt like I wanted a really, really bright nail polish, but I didn't want pink and I didn't want orange. I wanted like neon red. It was everything that I was thinking about, and now heading into summer again, I'm wondering if I should possibly pull the trigger on that one. And then the final tag is the most expensive item on your wish list. So let's figure this out here. I was thinking it was gonna end up being those bronzers from Charlotte Tilbury, but actually the most expensive thing on my wish list right now, and one that I still am like hemming and hawing over, is still also from Charlotte Tilbury, but it is their Darling eyeshadow palette. I probably should say that I have the Chantecaille little blush duos. Those I mentioned in my Needs, Notes, and Wants, and they were like $85 for the blush and the highlighter. Little split pans from their summer collection. And I was saying in that video, like, this is on my Nopes list, but then at the same time I'm like, oh, but they're so pretty. Like, and they said I wanted to do luxury dupes. Like, I was sitting there in that video talking myself into them. I have since seen some swatches of both of those palettes, and I think the blushes look beautiful in both of them, but the highlighters are too dark and too gold. Like, both of them would be that like brass stripe down the side of my cheek that I just am trying to avoid at all costs. So that's a no for me. That probably would have been the most expensive item on my wish list, but in lieu of that not being there, I default back to what's on my Sephora wish list, which is the Darling eyeshadow palette from Charlotte Tilbury. It's that 6-pan palette that has sort of classic warm shades. Swatch this in store, and it's definitely her newer eyeshadow formula, so I know it's one that I would enjoy. It mirrors what was in, I think, her holiday palette. I do think it's a very pretty sort of classic story. I like how compact it is. I feel like it would be a really nice travel palette for me. I just feel like at the same time, for as nice as it is, and for as much use as I would probably get out of it, it's not the most groundbreaking color scheme of life, but yet I keep seeing swatches for it that are like very attractive to me. Sitting here telling you like maybe I should buy it and dupe it for you guys kind of thing. I don't know. This one is like not so expensive that I couldn't see myself purchasing it. Like, it's not a $129 Natasha Denona palette. Like, those don't even make it onto my wish list because I know I'm never going to buy them. I'm just not. $57, even though it's obviously a much smaller amount of shades. It really comes down to this mental math of like not wanting to pay $129 for something. Like, even if I'm getting less product, even if it's a smaller palette, my stomach can handle a $50 price point in a way that it just can't for a single item, in a way it just can't for a $129 item. So that is the most expensive item on my wish list, and that wraps us up for the wish list tag created by myself and Mandy Lea. I definitely encourage you guys to go check out her video, or if you're coming from Mandy Lea's channel, welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to chatting with you guys down in the comments. I would love to see your answers toward these tags, and if you are a content creator here on YouTube, I'd love to see you guys do this as well. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Talk to you soon. Bye.